6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danishka Madhavala and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. China extends support to build a state-of-the-art agricultural university in Sri Lanka. Detention orders issued for 4 suspects, including Rishad's wife. Grace period to submit university admission applications. The discussion held between the teacher trade unions and the education minister a success. COVID-19 related deaths in the country increased to 4,054. Today is the World Drowning Prevention Day. In news overseas, rescuers search for survivors after India heavy monsoon rains. And in sports news, T20 series between Sri Lanka and India commences today. Those are the headlines, and now more to the details of the local news. China extends support to build a state-of-the-art university in Sri Lanka. This pledge was given to Sri Lankan ambassador to China, Dr. Palitha Kona, when he visited the Wuhan University in China recently. The Sri Lankan ambassador visited the university after an invitation made by the vice president of the university and the China Great Wall Industries Organization. Colombo Magistrate Court has granted permission for police to detain MP Rishad Baduddin's wife, father-in-law and the broker for 48 hours. Police have been ordered to produce them in court on July 26 after questioning. The police said the suspects were arrested for the offences of human trafficking and cruelty to children. Meanwhile, police also got permission from the court to detain the brother-in-law of MP Baduddin, who was arrested over sexual abuse allegations. The UGC chairman, Professor Sampath Amaratunga, said accepting applications for university admission for students who took the 2020 advanced level examination ended on the 18th of June. However, at the time, the University Grants Commission assured that students who could not submit their applications online due to the pandemic situations prevalent in the country will be given another opportunity. Accordingly, in keeping with its promise, the UGC has announced a grace period to send the university entrance applications from the 26th to the 30th of this month. After submitting their applications online, the students are further required to send a signed copy of the entry form to the following email address introduced by the UGC, and the email address is apply2020@ugc.ac.lk. I shall repeat it. The email address to send in your applications by email is apply2020@ugc.ac.lk. In addition, any changes that students wish to make to the order of the university or courses they have chosen will be allowed from the 31st of July to the 14th of August. However, Professor Amaratunga noted that those who have already sent in their applications will not be able to make such changes. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And we continue with more local news. Minister Kelly Rambukwala says that the discussions between the traders union and the government regarding the salary anomalies of teachers is successful. The free education should not be obstructed for anyone. He also emphasized that the free education should be updated to suit the modern days. The minister made these remarks at a ceremony held at the Harispattur Divisional Secretariat. Director General of Health Services says that another 52 COVID-19 related deaths took place in the country, increasing the total number of deaths in Sri Lanka to 4,052. This is the first time in several weeks that the daily COVID death toll passed 50. Overall, over 650 people have died due to COVID in the last 16 days. The majority of them are over 60 years of age, according to the Health Ministry. Meanwhile, 1,737 COVID patients were also identified in Sri Lanka yesterday, increasing the active COVID patients to 24,183. 30 of the patients identified are returnees from overseas. Today is the World Drowning Prevention Day. According to the Ministry of Health, every year about 800 Sri Lankans die due to drowning, and it is the second cause of unintentional injury deaths. Samitha Sirithunga, consultant community physician and national program manager, injury prevention and management of the Directorate of Non-Communicable Diseases of the Ministry of Health, said most of the drowning victims are between the age group of 21 to 60 years, which is economically the productive age group. In a message to mark the World Drowning Prevention Day on July 25th, the health officials said human behavior has been identified as a key risk factor for the occurrence of drowning. She said including a water safety culture within the country is crucial, and it is necessary to educate the public on water safety, establish barriers, improve swimming skills, rescue and resuscitation training, etc. Further, it is needed to identify new laws and regulations to improve the water safety in the country. The United Nations General Assembly passed its first ever resolution on global drowning prevention during the 75th session, and it's announced the 25th of July as the World Drowning Prevention Day. Every year, an estimated number of more than 200,000 people die due to drowning around the world. About 1/3 of these victims are from the South Asian countries. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. China extends support to build a state-of-the-art agricultural university in Sri Lanka. Detention orders issued on 4 suspects, including Rishad's wife. Grace period to submit university admission applications. The discussion held between the teachers' trade unions and the education minister a success. COVID-19 related deaths in the country increased to 4,054. Today is the World Drowning Prevention Day. And that was the local news. And with that, we move on to the main news story.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for this morning, Chairman of the Association of Medical Specialists of Sri Lanka, Dr. Lakkumar Fernandez says Sri Lanka should stop all large gatherings immediately. He said that the relaxation of travel restrictions must be reviewed, where the maximum number that can gather at any one event must be limited to 50 to 60. He added that there is a risk that Delta variant is becoming dominant strain in Sri Lanka in the coming months. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight today. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board says that the water supply in several areas in the Wattala will be suspended for 24 hours from 10 a.m. tomorrow. The areas that will be affected by this are part of the Wattala-Negamba Road, part of Mabole area, Velikadamulla and by roads up to Nayakakanda Junction on Handala Road, Alvis Town, Maradana Road, Puakwatta Road, Galahadua Road and part of Keravalapitia. Water supply will be suspended due to a laying of water pipes across the Handala Bridge and connecting it to the main pipe. That was the main that came to you in Watchlight, and now we move on to the headlines of the world news. Rescuers search for survivors after India heavy monsoon rain. Afghan curfew imposed as Taliban militant advance. Typhoon Infa sweeps towards China after flooding chaos. And those were the headlines, and now more on to the details of the world news. Rescuers are scoring devastated parts of Western India for survivors after heavy rains caused deadly floods. Tens of thousands of people have been moved out of the affected areas, with a record-breaking rainfall reported along parts of the coast. States of Goa and Maharashtra have been badly affected, with many fearing missing near the financial hub Mumbai. At least 136 people have died in Maharashtra, while in neighboring Goa, hundreds of homes have been damaged. The Afghan government imposed a curfew across almost all parts of the country on Saturday in an attempt to stop the Taliban from invading cities. Aside from the capital Kabul and 2 other provinces, no movement will be allowed between 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Fighting between the Taliban and Afghan government forces has escalated over the past 2 months as international troops withdraw from the country. The militant groups is estimated to have captured up to half of all the territories. It has moved swiftly in the wake of the U.S. withdrawal, retaking borders, crossing, and the other territorial rural areas. China's eastern coast is bracing for another major typhoon in days after deadly floods devastated parts of the country. Typhoon Infa is expected to make a landfall near Shanghai on Sunday, forecasters say. Flights and train services have been suspended while people have been ordered to stay indoors. Disruptive winds, rough seas and flooding is expected. Meanwhile, dozens of ships have been evacuated from the busy port south of Shanghai. The typhoon follows a period of historic flooding that caused widespread damages and killed at least 58 people in central China. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. Rescuers search for survivors after India heavy monsoon rains. Afghan curfew imposed as Taliban militants advance. Typhoon Infa sweeps towards China after flooding chaos. And that was the world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
And in development news, Sri Lanka Army has introduced a new machine to produce organic fertilizer. Troops of the 4th Electrical and Engineering Corps and the 5th Engineering Services Corps have created the machine that can shred tree leaves and branches into small pieces to produce organic fertilizer. And that came to you in the segment of development news.
Development News was brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
Moving on to sports news, the 3-match T20 series between Sri Lanka and India will begin today. The first match of the series will be held today at the R. Premadasa Stadium as a day and night encounter. The match will begin at 8 p.m. India won the one-day series by 2-1. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
In business news, Mark Zuckerberg has laid out his vision to transform Facebook from a social media network into a metaverse company in the next 5 years. A metaverse is an online world where people can game, work and communicate in a virtual environment, often using VR headsets. The Facebook CEO described it as an embodied internet where instead of just viewing content, you are in it. He told the Verge people shouldn't live through small, glowing rectangles. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And in economic news, the Hambantota International Port recorded its highest discharge levels of bulk cargo recently when a shipment of gypsum consignment to INSEE Cement was unloaded at a rate of 24,000 metric tons per day by port operations. Thusits Gunawardana Varnasuriam, Director Procurement and Logistics of INSEE Cement, says that this was an extraordinary achievement for a Sri Lankan port in terms of speed and efficiency. That was economic news, and with the report to conclude.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, the weather report. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Saprakamua and central provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters, can be expected at some places in the western and Saprakamua provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the northwestern province. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Ampara and Batticaloa districts in the evening or night. And that was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And before we conclude this bulletin of news, let's get back to the headlines once again. China extends support to build a state-of-the-art agricultural university in Sri Lanka. Detention orders issued on 4 suspects, including Rishad's wife. Grace period to submit university admission applications. The discussion held between the teachers' trade unions and the education minister a success. COVID-19 related deaths in the country increased to 4,054. Today is the World Drowning Prevention Day. In news overseas, rescuers search for survivors after India heavy monsoon rains. And in sports news, T20 series between Sri Lanka and India commences today.